I see you. You tell everyone that you're protecting your peace. You tell your friends that you're in your villain era or your solitude era. You post memes about how you don't need anyone, how you're a lone wolf, how you cut people off at the first sign of disrespect because you have boundaries. Can I tell you the truth? You didn't set a boundary, you built a bunker. And it's getting pretty lonely inside that bunker, isn't it? We live in a culture that fetishizes independence. We think needing people is a weakness. We think that saying I'm fine when we are bleeding out is some kind of a flex. Psychologically, that's not strength. That's a trauma response called hyperindependence. It means that at some point that you were let down in your childhood or as an adult and you somehow decided, fine, I'll do it myself. But here's the dark reality. Humans are pack animals. If you separate a wolf from the pack, it doesn't become mysterious and cool. It starves. Today we're talking about why your healing journey has turned into isolation, why you're terrified of being perceived, and how to stop weaponizing therapy speak in order to avoid human connection. Welcome to Sober Psychology. Let's break down the walls. What is up, guys? Welcome back to Sober Psychology. I'm Michael, your host. I'm a psychologist in training, which means that I'm legally required to tell you that while this is therapeutic, it isn't therapy. If you're in a crisis, call a professional. Please don't call a YouTuber.
Stop it. Get some help.
If you're new here, we do things differently. We take raw data of psychology and the timeless truth of the Bible, and then we somehow or another smash them together to figure out why we are the way that we are. If you want to stop lying to yourself, hit that subscribe button. If you want to stay comfortable, go watch a lifestyle vlog. Today's topic is hyperindependence. This is trending and in a very big way right now. Everyone is talking about cutting toxic people off. And sure, some people need to be cut off, but some of you are wielding a machete in a room full of people who are just trying to love you. We're going to cover attachment theory, which is why you run away when things get intimate, the vulnerability hangover, which is why you feel cringe after opening up, and then the biblical mandate, which is why solo Christianity is heresy. Let's get into the psychology. Let's look at attachment theory. Most of you know the basics. You've got secure, anxious, and avoidant. Hyperindependence is almost always a symptom of dismissive-avoidant style of attachment. If you grew up in a house where your emotional needs were ignored, where crying was mocked, or where you had to parent your own parents, your brain eventually learned a very specific lesson. People are unreliable, and if I want it done right, or if I want to be safe, I gotta rely on myself. So you become the strong friend. You become the high achiever. You never ask for help, no matter what. If someone asks, how can I help you? You just say, I got it. Don't worry about it. You think that this is maturity, but it's not maturity. It's a defense mechanism. Hyperindependence is just trust issues wearing a tuxedo. You aren't low maintenance. You're practicing preemptive rejection. You reject help so you don't have to face the possibility of being let down. Psychologist Dr. Judy Ho talks about this as a form of self-reliance syndrome. The problem is that our nervous systems were designed for co-regulation. When you're stressed, you're supposed to seek out another human being to help calm you down. When you refuse to do that, you trap the cortisol in your body. You're literally poisoning yourself with your own pride. Now let's talk about something that drives me absolutely insane. Weaponized therapy speak. Since we have all learned words like boundaries, gaslighting, and emotional labor from TikTok, we've started using them somehow or another as shields. We ghost a friend because you don't have the emotional capacity. You break up with someone via text message because you're prioritizing your mental health. Listen to me. Sometimes you aren't setting a boundary. You're just being a jerk. Real boundaries are designed to keep relationships healthy. Fake boundaries are designed to keep people out. If your healing journey involves cutting off everyone who slightly inconveniences you, you aren't healing, you're isolating. Real love is inconvenient. Real community is annoying. If you want a relationship that requires zero sacrifice, go buy a freaking goldfish. We use these buzzwords to intellectualize our fear. Freud called this intellectualization. If I can explain why I'm doing this using fancy psychological terms, then I don't have to feel the guilt of abandoning people. So what happens when you actually do let someone in? You tell someone a secret, you cry in front of your spouse, you share a struggle at a small group, and then the next morning you wake up and you just want to die. You feel exposed. You feel cringe. You just want to text them and say, forget that I said that. Brene Brown calls this the vulnerability hangover. It's the shame that rushes in after you drop the shield. Your brain screams, oh God, danger. You gave them ammunition. They can hurt you now. And because you hate that feeling, you pull back. You ghost them for 3 days to regain the upper hand. But here's the psychological fact. Vulnerability is the only bridge to connection. You cannot be loved for who you are if you never show who you are. You can only be loved for the mask, and being loved for the mask is incredibly lonely. Trust me. Now, let's look at the Bible, because the Bible is the most anti-hyper-independence book ever written. In the New Testament, the phrase one another appears 59 times. Love one another, bear with one another, forgive one another, confess to one another. You cannot do any of those things alone in your room listening to a podcast. You cannot bear with one another if you cut people off the moment that they become unbearable. Galatians 6:2 says, bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. But then look a few verses later in Galatians 6:5, for each will have to bear his own load. Is that a contradiction? No. The Greek word for load in verse 5 means soldier's backpack, which is basically your daily responsibilities. You have to carry your own weight. But the word for burden in verse 2 means a heavy crushing weight, kind of like a boulder. You're supposed to carry your backpack. You are not supposed to carry a boulder. Some of you are trying to bench press a boulder because you're too proud to ask a spotter, and it's absolutely crushing you. God said in Genesis 2:18, it is not good that the man should be alone. That wasn't just about marriage. That was a statement in human physiology. When you choose isolation, you're choosing a state that God labeled not good. So how do we fix this? How do we recover from hyper-independence? Number 1, practice micro-dependencies. Start small. Ask someone for a ride. Ask someone to borrow a pen. Ask someone for advice on something that you already know the answer to. You need to get into the habit of retraining your brain to let it know that asking for help does not equal danger. Number 2, tolerate the cringe. When you have that vulnerability hangover, don't run. Sit in the cringe. Tell yourself, I feel exposed, and that means I was brave. Do not ghost people after you open up. Send a text the next day. Hey, thanks for listening yesterday. I felt weird sharing that, but I appreciate you. And number 3, move from transactional to relational. Stop keeping score. Hyper-independent people are obsessed with equity. I did this for you, so you do this for me. Grace is not transactional. Relationships are messy. Let them be messy. Look, come here. I know it feels safer in the bunker. I know that if you don't let anyone in, no one can break your heart. But as C.S. Lewis famously said, the only place outside of heaven where you can be perfectly safe from all the dangers and perturbations of love is hell. To love is to be vulnerable. To heal is to be known. You are not healing by yourself. You're just rotting in private. Get out of the bunker. Risk the pain, because the alternative is a safety that feels a whole lot like death. Here's your challenge for the week. Text one person, just one, and tell them something that you're actually struggling with. Not something that you already solved, but something that you're currently in the middle of struggling with. And then just let them love you. Let them do their thing. I'm Michael. This is Sober Psychology. Stay real, stay connected, and pick up the dang phone. Keep your head up, keep your heart open, and go help somebody. Love you guys.